Right now, you still believe your intentions carry weight. You think people can sense your loyalty. You think that if you explain yourself clearly enough, the world will finally treat you fairly. That belief is why you are always in someone else's hands. That belief is why you keep getting managed, corrected, and quietly replaced. You are not losing because you are stupid. You are losing because you were trained to be helpful, obedient, and agreeable, not powerful. You can see it at work. Your manager gives you a vague deadline, then later acts shocked when you miss the imaginary standard. You start defending yourself. You bring screenshots. You write long messages. You try to prove you were responsible. And while you are explaining, you are being measured. You stepped into their court. You handed them authority. They do not respect your intention. They respect your discipline. You can see it in relationships. You say you care. You show up. You try to be considerate. The one small mistakes, and suddenly you are on trial. You start apologizing for your tone, your timing, your mood. You try to be understood. You accepted their frame. You become the one seeking. You become the one asking permission to be treated fairly. And the moment you chase approval, you lose dominance. You can see it with friends and family. A relative makes a sharp joke at your expense at dinner. Everyone laughs. You laugh too, to look easygoing. Later you feel it in your chest. You think about what you should have said. You think about how unfair it was, but you stayed silent in the wrong way. You stayed silent as submission, not as control. You were trained to keep the peace, not to hold frame. The deeper cause is simple. You were conditioned to be liked. You were conditioned to be helpful. You were conditioned to reduce yourself so that other people stay comfortable. That conditioning makes you predictable, and predictable men are easy to control. Machiavelli saw this without any romance. Power does not reward good intentions. Power rewards structure. Power rewards discipline. Power rewards the man who can hold his line without begging for understanding. In the real world, people do not follow their hearts. They follow your standards. You are about to hear 6 psychological reversals that will feel cold if you are still addicted to approval. Most viewers will leave after the opening truth because it attacks the story they tell themselves. They want comfort. They want to believe effort is automatically respected. They want to feel that being good protects them. That is herd thinking. If you leave, you stay in control. If you stay, you separate from the herd. Put your phone face down and listen. If this hit you, write "I am the strategist" once in the comments to mark the day your mindset changed. Here is the reality. Discipline is not an image. It is a signal. It tells people where you end and where they begin. Intentions are invisible. Discipline is visible. Discipline is visible. Intentions are negotiable. Discipline is non-negotiable. And Machiavelli would say to you without emotion, the people treat you the way your behavior permits. You think explanations make you look mature. You think explanations show honesty. You think explanations are confusing. Most of the time, explanations do one thing. They lower your status. When you explain, you confess that you feel accountable for someone else's emotions. You accepted their frame. You stepped into their court. You were being evaluated instead of evaluating. Watch how it plays out at work. Your colleague misses a deliverable, then messages you in a panic. They talk about stress. They talk about personal issues. They hint that you should cover for them because you are the reliable one. If you are trained to be agreeable, you start negotiating. You start fixing. You start explaining to the boss why the project is delayed. You become the shield. You become the excuse. The colleague learns you can be pushed. The boss knows you will absorb chaos. Your intentions were helpful. Your position becomes weaker. A disciplined man does something colder and cleaner. He states reality. He states constraints. He does not argue with feelings. He does not get pulled into rescue mode. He says, "I can deliver my part by Friday. Your part is yours." Then he stops talking. That silence is not passive. That silence is control. It forces the other person to face consequences without using you as a sponge. Now look at how people bait you outside of work. Someone asks, "Why are you so quiet?" They do not want information. They want to position you as strange, so you start performing abnormally. If you explain, you lose. You start talking about your day, your mood, your reasons. You just told them they are allowed to audit you. You handed them authority. The cold answer is simple: "I'm fine." Then you move on. No speech, no defense, no confession. You keep your pace. You keep your frame. You will notice another detail. The people who demand explanations rarely want clarity. They want control. They want you to leak information so they can position you. When you start explaining, you reveal priorities, fears, and hopes. That is data. Data becomes leverage. A disciplined man does not donate leverage. Imagine a friend group where someone says, "Why didn't you come last night?" The tone is not curious. It is a subtle accusation. If you start listing reasons, you are asking for forgiveness. You are requesting to be allowed. The strong answer is not rude. It is simple: "I had other plans." Then you stop. If they push again, you do not defend your life. You repeat once, "I had other plans." Then silence. You do not offer your time for inspection. You keep your frame. You keep your authority. Machiavelli's logic here is brutal. People respect the man who can carry consequences without flinching. People exploit the man who tries to take the implications on himself. When you explain, you offer your throat. You show that you need to be understood. Needing to be understood is a weakness because it invites negotiation, it invites debate, it invites counter-demands. It invites the other person to keep you on the defensive. The mechanism is status. When you explain, you signal that your action requires permission. When you state, you signal that your action stands on its own. "I didn't mean it like that. What I meant was," is a man trying to survive an evaluation. "That's not how I operate," is a man drawing a boundary. One is seeking approval. The other is setting authority. You apply it by cutting your messages in half. You stop writing essays. You stop defending your intention. You stop reacting to bait. When someone challenges you with a loaded question, you answer the question they asked, not the accusation they implied. You keep your voice calm. You let the silence hang. Silence is pressure. Silence is dominance. Most men think big moments create respect. They think grand gestures make people value them. They think intensity proves strength. Power does not trust intensity. Power trusts consistency. Intensity is emotional. Consistency is structural. Machiavelli would call it intensity noise. Consistency is order. You see this in relationships every day. A man disappears for days, then comes back with apologies and affection. He cries, he promises, he sends long paragraphs. It feels intense. It feels sincere. It is still unstable. The other person learns to wait out the storm because the storm always passes. Intensity makes you predictable in a weak way. Consistency makes you highly predictable. The disciplined man does not swing between extremes. He does not use emotion as currency. When he says he will call, he calls. When he says he will leave, he leaves. When he says he is not available, he stays unavailable. This is not romance. This is governance. People do not feel safe with intensity. They feel controlled by it. They respect the man who controls himself. A small test exposes the difference. Your partner shows subtle disrespect, not a blatant insult, a small cut, a late reply after asking for your time, a comment that questions your competence in front of others. The common behavior is to react, to get loud, to demand reassurance, to chase clarity. It feels strong because it is emotional. It is actually weak because you surrendered your center. You made your mood dependent on their behavior. The inversion is uncomfortable. What feels warm is often weak. What feels cold is often effective. The disciplined response is not dramatic. It is consistent. You do not argue about respect. You enforce it. You reduce access. You shorten your responses. You stop offering your attention like a free sample. You do not punish. You adjust. Distance is not cruelty, distance is authority. Machiavelli would approve because he understood that loyalty is bought with stability, not speeches. People do not follow the man who begs them to take him seriously. They follow the man whose standards are obvious. Consistency becomes a frame. When you are consistent, people stop testing you because the outcome is boring. Boring is powerful. Chaos is for the desperate. You apply it by making your yes rare and your no clean. You stop negotiating your schedule to prove you care. You stop overcompensating when you make a mistake. You correct the mistake and move. You keep the same posture in praise and in criticism. That is discipline. That is why power respects it. The same rule applies at work when you manage time. If you deliver on Monday every week, people stop asking if you will provide. They plan around you. If you give late and then make up for it with late-night effort, people prepare for your chaos. They do not respect your effort. They respect your pattern. Consistency makes you a reference point. Intensity makes you a problem. Niceness is another trap men wear like armor. You think being liked creates security. You think politeness earns fairness. You think that if you avoid conflict, you avoid danger. Niceness does the opposite. Niceness invites evaluation. The nice man is easy to audit. He is easy to guilt. He is easy to shame. He is easy to push. Picture a family setting. You are the one who always helps. You drive people places. You handle problems. You listen to complaints. You fix tech issues. You lend money. You do it with a smile because you want to be seen as good. Then the moment you say no, people act offended. They act confused. They say you changed. What they mean is you stopped being useful. You accepted their frame for years, and now they feel entitled. A disciplined man is not cruel. He is selective. He understands that access is a privilege, not a right. He does not buy approval with service. He offers help when it aligns with his standards, not when it buys temporary peace. The weak behavior is to explain your no. I wish I could, but I'm tired and I had a long week. That turns your boundary into a debate. It tells them that your no is negotiable if they argue well enough. The most effective way to say no is to treat it like a fact. I can't do that. Then you end the conversation. You do not overtalk. You do not apologize for having a life. You do not let their disappointment rewrite your boundaries. That is discipline in a room full of people who trained you to be available. Watch how the evaluation starts when you stay nice. People test with small asks. Can you just do me a quick favor? Then it becomes a pattern. Then it becomes an expectation. Then your time is no longer yours. The moment you hesitate, the guilt arrives. I thought you cared. That is not love. That is management. Machiavelli's permission here is blunt. People praise your virtue because it makes you manageable. They call you so nice because it means you will not fight for your position. Power is not impressed by your softness. Power is impressed by your restraint. Restraint is discipline applied to your impulse to please. The mechanism is social economics. Attention, time, and help are currency. When you give currency without terms, you train people to devalue it. Scarcity creates value. Excess creates entitlement. If you are always available, you become background noise. If you are selectively available, you become an event. People do not respect what they can get anytime. You apply it by cutting off automatic favors. You pause before agreeing. You let requests sit. You respond on your timing, not theirs. You decide what you do and why you do it. That is how you stop being evaluated as a tool and start being treated like a man with agency. You also see niceness destroy men in negotiations. You ask for a raise and you start with apologies. You say you do not want to be a burden. You say you understand budgets are tight. You are trying to be reasonable. You just told them you are afraid of tension. They will use that fear to stall you. A disciplined man makes an explicit request and then waits. He lets the silence work. Silence is control. Silence forces an answer. Most men think reacting quickly shows strength. They feel that defending themselves immediately stops rumors. They think responding to disrespect proves they have standards. Uncontrolled reactions prove something else. They prove someone has access to your nervous system. If they can pull an emotional response on command, they own a piece of you. At work, someone challenges you in a meeting. They say, "Are you sure that's correct?" in a tone that is not curious. It is a test. The common behavior is to scramble, to over-explain, to talk faster, to flood the room with details. You think you are protecting your competence. You are actually signaling insecurity. You stepped into their court. You handed them authority. You let their tone set your pace. A disciplined man does the opposite. He slows down. He asks one straightforward question back. What part do you think is incorrect? Then he waits. He forces them to be precise. Most challengers rely on your panic. When you do not panic, their frame collapses. You become the one evaluating. You change the dynamic from defense to audit. In relationships, the exact mechanism shows up as emotional fishing. Someone says, "You don't care about me anymore." It is not a statement of fact, it is a hook. If you are trained to seek approval, you jump in. You promise, you plead, you perform care. Then they learn that accusation equals attention. They will accuse you again because it works. The inversion is again uncomfortable. What feels caring can be weak. What feels cold can be effective. A disciplined response is not a performance. You do not accept the accusation as accurate. You do not chase their feelings. You state your reality. "I'm not doing that conversation." Then you return to your normal tone. You do not abandon your frame to prove you are good. Machiavelli would tell you that people respect the man who cannot be moved easily. Not because he is heartless, but because he is solid. When you react, you let others write the script. When you control your response, you write the script. Authority is not volume. Authority is pace. You apply it by protecting your response time. You do not answer while angry. You do not argue in text. You do not give instant access to your emotional world. You choose the time and place for serious conversations. That discipline makes your presence heavier because it cannot be pulled around. Watch how people use urgency as a weapon. Someone texts, "We need to talk." Most men react instantly. They call, they chase, they beg for context. They hand over authority before the conversation even starts. A disciplined man does not sprint toward anxiety. He relies on his timing. "I'm free tomorrow at 6. Then he closes the door. He refuses the frame of panic. Validation is another leash. You were taught to seek reassurance. You were taught to look for signs that you are appreciated. You were taught that being recognized means you are safe. In power dynamics, validation is a trap. The person who gives validation can take it away. The man who needs applause is always one performance away from panic. A real-life situation is simple. You do a good job and your boss says, "Nice work." You feel relief. Then the next week, they say nothing, your mood drops. You start working harder. You start chasing the following compliment. You think you are ambitious. You are actually being managed to approval. It shows up online too. You post something, and you check who liked it. You watch who viewed your story. You interpret silence as rejection. You start adjusting your personality to get the reaction you want. You become a product. You become a performer. You become easy to steer. The weak behavior is to show that you need to be chosen. You keep asking, "Are we okay?" You keep fishing for clarity. You keep trying to be the good guy, so you get points. You accepted their frame. You made your identity dependent on their evaluation. The effective behavior is internal discipline. You do not require constant confirmation. You do not tell people you are valuable. You act like it. You do not argue to be respected. You behave in a way that makes disrespect expensive. When validation comes, you nod and move on. When validation does not come, you still move the same way. That is what makes you difficult to control. Machiavelli would call this independence. He understood that men are easier to manage when they crave recognition. Give them a title, a compliment, a little access, and they will betray their own standards to keep it. A disciplined man does not sell himself for a pat on the head. He does not trade his frame for acceptance. The mechanism is reward conditioning. Praise becomes the treat. Withhold praise, and the needy man behaves more harshly. If you become immune to this, you become difficult to manage. You become the one who chooses, not the one who begs. You apply it by practicing calm neutrality. You stop announcing your sacrifices. You stop looking around the room to see if people noticed. You keep your life private. You make your approval rare. When you approve someone else, it carries weight. That flips the hierarchy, because you are no longer hungry. When you stop chasing validation, another shift happens. People start competing for your approval, not because you are special, but because you are scarce. If you give praise freely, it becomes noise. If you give praise rarely, it becomes a signal. The man who can approve without needing approval becomes the one who sets the social temperature. Men love to pretend fear is always toxic. They say fear ruins trust. That is comforting language for people who want you soft. Fear is not always screaming and violence. Fear is the quiet awareness that crossing you has consequences. That kind of fear keeps order. That kind of fear creates respect. Consider a friend who constantly jokes at your expense. The common behavior is to tolerate it and hope it stops, or you explode on me, then apologize. Both are weak because they are unstable. The friend learns your boundaries are emotional, not structural. They will keep testing because your standards are unclear. The disciplined man handles it without drama. He corrects it once, clearly, with eye contact. Don't speak to me like that. Then he returns to everyday conversation. If it happens again, he will reduce access. He leaves early. He stops inviting. He becomes scarce. He does not argue. He does not hold a trial. He enforces. People call this cold. It is not cold. It is clean. At work, discipline creates the same fear. You do not tolerate scope creep. You do not take on last-minute tasks because someone else failed to plan. You do not stay late to prove commitment when the system is broken. You state timelines, you document decisions, you protect your time. People feel a slight fear when they approach you with chaos because they know you will not absorb it. That fear is respect. Machiavelli would say being loved is unstable, but being respected is durable. Love is a mood. Respect is a structure. Discipline builds structure. Discipline makes your behavior predictable in the best way. People know what happens when they cross a line. That certainty is what creates fear, and that fear is what keeps your position safe. The mechanism is consequence memory. Humans remember cost more than comfort. If your boundaries cost nothing, people forget them. If crossing you creates cost, people remember. You do not need to shout. You do not need threats. The consequence is the message. Silence after a boundary is stronger than a lecture. You apply it by deciding your lines in advance. You decide what you will not tolerate. You decide what access people lose when they violate your standards. Then you follow through without emotion. That discipline is rare because it requires you to be the villain in someone else's story. A disciplined man accepts that. He does not beg to be understood. When you do this, some people will try to label you to regain control. They will call you arrogant. They will call you cold. They will call you difficult. If you rush to correct their label, you are back in their court. A disciplined man lets labels float. He does not debate his identity. He proves it through repeated behavior. Now you see the pattern. Every time you chase approval, you lose authority. Every time you explain too much, you hand over dominance. Every time you react, you give someone the steering wheel. Discipline is the refusal to be pulled. Discipline is the ability to stay calm while others try to drag you into their frame of reference. This is where the consequences become unavoidable. If you keep living on intentions, you become socially invisible. People will smile at you and still ignore you. They will invite you when they need a helper, then forget you when power is being divided. They will talk over you because you never interrupt. They will disrespect you in small ways because it costs them nothing. They will keep you close for convenience and far from influence. You will be managed instead of respected. Your boss will give you more work because you always say yes. Then they will call you dependable, like it is a compliment, while they pay you like a servant. Your partner will test you because you always return to the argument. Then they will say you are too sensitive when you finally snap, because your standards were never enforced. Your friends will take up your time because you always make room for them. Then they will call you busy when you stop showing up, because they cannot admit they were using your availability. You will be tolerated, not valued. Tolerated men are useful. Valued men are scarce. Useful men get thanked. Few men get thanked. Few men get respected. And you will feel it in the attention economy. The world rewards what holds frame. The world rewards what is consistent. The world rewards what is disciplined. If your life is open, people treat it like public property. If your emotions are exposed, people use them against you. If your schedule is loose, people fill it. If your standards are soft, people step on them. That is not evil. That is human. Discipline changes that, because discipline creates scarcity. When you become scarce, people become cautious. When you become quiet, people start guessing. Silence creates fear because it removes information. Distance creates authority because it makes access expensive. Scarcity creates value because people cannot take you for granted. You do not need to announce these things. You live them. This is not cruelty. This is not a game. This is realism. You are not manipulating anyone by having standards. You are refusing to be controlled. You are refusing to accept frames that were designed to shrink you. Machiavelli would not ask you to be kind. He would ask you to be effective. He would tell you the world rewards what works, not what feels good. If you want power, you stop auditioning for approval. You stop being the good boy. You stop being the good boy. You stop treating your intentions like currency. Intentions are cheap. Discipline is rare. The moment you adopt discipline, your life becomes simpler and harsher at the same time. Simpler because you stop debating every boundary. Harsher because people will not like losing control over you. Some will guilt you. Some will call you cold. Some will accuse you of changing. That reaction is proof you are valuable to them as a tool, not as a man. Let them react. You do not have to correct their story. You will notice the shift in rooms. When you speak less, people listen more. When you do not rush to fill the silence, others fill it for you. When you stop explaining, others stop accusing. Not because they became fair, but because you stopped giving them a courtroom. When you stop reacting, provocations lose oxygen. When you stop seeking validation, attention starts coming to you because you are no longer chasing it. You will also notice the shift inside your body. Your nervous system calms down because it is no longer on call for other people's moods. You are no longer sprinting to repair tension. You are no longer negotiating your worth. You become the one who evaluates. You become the one who chooses who gets access. That is what it means to hold frame. That is what it means to hold authority. That is dominance without noise. Here is your real-world challenge. For the next 7 days, enforce one boundary without explanation. One clean line. When someone presses you for reasons you will not provide them, you will repeat your statement once, then you will go silent. Not angry silence. Controlled silence. Silence that holds the frame. Silence that forces reality to land. You will also stop providing care to people who use it as a handle. You will stop answering bait questions. You will slow your pace when challenged. You will stay consistent instead of intense. You will let discipline speak, because discipline is what power respects. If you want more of this realism, you already know what to do. Like the video if it matched your experience. Share it with a man who is still trying to win with intentions. Subscribe if you are done being managed. If this hit you, write "I am the strategist" once in the comments and mark the day your mindset changed. Now close the tab and move like a man who sets terms. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be respected.